Hello, and here we are at the Sanctuary again. This is Tony, and today I have the privilege of having 2/3 of the Band of Light here, including me. We have Jane, we have Michael.
Hi, Tony.
And we have myself. There's only David missing, and hopefully one day we'll have him on film as well. And as the Band of Light, we've been kind of discussing all those things that people like to know about the Joseph communications. Sometimes they want a little more depth, sometimes because they haven't read or finished a book and they're excited about it. I see that at the Sanctuary. We work on a day-to-day basis with people with chronic illness and people in our organic cafe who just come in and comment. And so what I've done is I've written down some of these queries, if you like, and I'm going to ask Jane and Michael if they comment on some of these. And the first one, I have them written down here. The first one that I've got is kind of amusing, but a lot of people did ask me about animals and pets. And so the words that I actually wrote down, Jane, Michael, Jane, if you want to answer this one. My cat likes to cuddle up on my chest when I'm reading in bed. He often looks up above my head, tracking something with his eyes. Sometimes his ears track as well. Is he able to see or hear spirit guides? If so, I'm feeling left out. Is there someone there? And how do I connect?
Well, firstly, animals are very psychic. They don't have a head mind that says, oh, you can't possibly see spirit. So they often do see spirits or probably even commune with the diva. We had Molly, yes, who was a very naughty dog, and the spirit guides used to tease her sometimes. I've seen her where somebody's obviously pulled her tail and she's sort of run out, or another time she was even begging in the middle of the room for something. There was nothing there. And then there was one time when the big Indian was giving us some information and Molly was sort of messing around, and the big Indian said, Molly, this is the big Indian, get out. And she went out and she didn't come back in the room.
She wouldn't come back into the room.
That's incredible.
Another time I'd just taken her for a very long walk. I'd put her back in the house, gone to the car for something. When I came back, she wasn't there, but there was a trail of destruction. She'd sort of run out of the room doing a wee, and I couldn't find her, and she was in the cupboard that she's in, you know, that was in during the bonfire, you know, with the fireworks and things. So she was petrified, and one of the guides came through later saying, sorry, I startled Molly, I was just coming in to see if you're okay, and the dog saw me. So yes,
the answer is
yes,
very definitely.
There's no doubt about it
that
dogs, cats are very much in tune with
yes,
spirit.
Yes.
In fact, I remember reading in the it wasn't Revelation, but one of the books, saying that they are more connected than we are.
Absolutely. They
Much
don't
more
have
connected.
this obstruction of the complex human mind that says that can't possibly be so. They just accept that they exist on different levels of consciousness.
Because they are the diva, aren't they?
Yes, they're part of the diva creation, yeah.
Didn't cut itself off from the spiritual being.
We did at the time of the fall, of course, as we know from Joseph's book of the same name. But the animal kingdom doesn't.
So in many respects, Molly and all the animals are more evolved spiritually than we are.
Yeah. Yes.
And then just going on to the second part of that query, where people might think, oh, well, I'd like to see the spirit guides and things, and I'm sort of missing out. And I have to say, why do you want to see them? And also, it's a very unless you supervise, unless you're under the tutelage of an experienced medium, and you're going to do it for the right reasons, which is to help other people leave well alone, because as we know in the spaces between, there are a lot of influences that you could leave yourself wide open to. So it's safer not to train.
I think it's what we've said in previous interviews, that do the work yourself.
Yes.
Do the basic practice on a day-to-day basis, and then your vibration will evolve.
Yeah, and as Jane says, why do you want to see spirits? Why? Isn't it more important at this time with the world as it is to make a difference in this world using spiritual power? And there's not enough wave band for you to use spiritual power and tune in and see pretty pictures at the same time. It sounds harsh, but we're spiritual workers. We have to work to change things. And then anything else that comes to us, if we see guides or we sense things, that's a bonus. But the work is the principal reason for us needing to evolve spiritually.
I remember you telling me once, I think you were there, Jane, when Michael said that mediums like yourself are put together differently.
Yes, we're weird.
You're weird.
Weird people.
And so not everybody is going to be able to do that, are they? They're not going to evolve to be mediums. They're going to evolve to be able to do the spiritual work.
And if you are going to evolve to be a medium, why do you want to be a medium? If it's about you, that's the wrong, you're coming from the wrong place.
Exactly.
If it's about helping other people and making them spiritually aware and making their lives better and changing this world, you're coming from the right place. You've got to examine why you want to be a medium.
Exactly.
Do you see it as something that will bring you fame and fortune? That's the wrong place to come from. You are a worker, you are a servant for the divine within. If you're prepared to do that, and it's a hard life, it's a tough life, then seek out the proper tutelage to be able to help humankind.
And if you're just wanting it for guidance for yourself, then you're far better off going within and getting the guidance that way, using the meditation that Michael used in the We're All Broken-Hearted, that discussion that you had. So you're better off getting the guidance from within. It's a gentler way. You're only communicating with yourself, your higher self, and that is how the guides guide you anyway, as it sort of says in the spaces between. They guide you via your higher self. So if you tune in on a daily basis, you're going to get that guidance in your life, and you're not opening yourself up to other spiritual beings who may not be what they seem, and you know, if you're not trained, you wouldn't know the difference.
You'd end up in a mess.
Yes.
Yeah. Jane, I think that's so important. And so thank you for answering that. And I'd now like to go on to another question, if that's okay. And again, it's not really a question, it's communal thoughts that I pick up from the sanctuary, if you like.
Yeah.
And that one is, and this would, I find people start reading the books. And when they're reading the books, the Joseph Communications, they get questions in the mind before they finish the book.
Yes.
And actually, if they carried on with the books, the answers are all there.
Yeah.
That's right. But anyway, this is kind of one of those. And this is one I got from quite a few people. And it goes like this, and plan to read others. I'm reading your books and I plan to read others. One thing that has put me off religion is that God is always referred to as he. It feels very imbalanced to me, ignoring the feminine aspect. In Revelation, God is similarly referred to as he. There is an absence of she. God, although you do refer to the imbalance in masculine and feminine, I would be very grateful if you could explain to me why this is.
He and she, we box ourselves in, don't we? And we how often do we say women? Or how often do women say men? They always act like that. Not realising that we have had more than one life here. Not realising that we have both been male and female in past lives. And that we are trying to move together the two forces, to blend together the masculine and feminine aspects of our being in complete harmony as a complete spiritual being eventually. Joseph says in one of the books, I could just as easily use the word she. Yeah. It's equally important. Yeah. Or I could use the word it, although that hardly seems respectful. It is just a term of reference. Yeah. It's not a social comment. It is simply a reference to the divine. I mean, many people are disturbed by the word God because they've been brought up in very strict religions and have associated God with punishment and all sorts of nonsense that they've been fed. And so they won't even accept the word God. So we have to substitute the word divine or cosmic force or whatever you like. It doesn't matter what you call the divine, as long as I said once in a Facebook post, as long as you call the divine. In other words, as long as you make that dial up and can connect to that energy that flows through you and created you and gave you this independent facet of itself to experience. So the important thing is to connect with the divine. Not to say, well, it should be here, it should be she. That to me is very trivial.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. If you're offended by that, then substitute the word she. If you're offended by the word she, substitute the word he. If you're offended by those two terms, substitute it or something you are comfortable with. But acknowledge that force is your source and flows through you and is part of you. That's the important thing.
Exactly.
So it's just a shorthand, and sometimes Joseph has said he/she/it/the divine, whatever your view of the universal forces, but he couldn't say that every time. And because he was using Michael's sort of language and he just used he as a shorthand.
Sometimes language can be very limiting.
It's restricted.
Yes, and when people read the books, they will now see points where Joseph does refer to the other annotations of it, but it's just for simplicity's sake.
I think that's a perfect answer. Thank you very much. I'll just move on now to the next line of thought that I've picked up in the sanctuary. Whether there's any reference in the series of books to a kind of fate, inevitability, such that everything that happens is somehow meant to be, whether we choose to perceive it as good, bad, or downright ugly. And I've come to realise that in recent years, that we all have much more choice than most people ever begin to realise.
I think throughout most of Joseph's books, he's talking about co-creation and drawing things, attracting things towards yourself. And so for most of it, we have free will and we can create our own life. So that's sort of the gist of it. But he does mention in Revelation that if there's certain karmic lessons you're not learning, there are certain milestones in a person's life that will happen. If they haven't learned a lesson, there's sort of like a wake-up call waiting for them here, and you will meet that milestone.
Yeah, it's inevitable because you've decided to reincarnate, which we've covered in other videos. Yeah. So inevitably, there has to be something made of that life. If you're going to come back here, then you are inevitably linking to the karma that you set up in previous lives. It's inevitable. It's not a judgment. It gathers around you because it is of a similar vibration to you as a spirit, a core. So you are going to draw in that which you have not resolved, or that which has disturbed you or challenged you in previous lives, because it still exists within the matrix of the field of human consciousness as an energy.
Right.
And because you are similar to that energy, identical to that energy, when you come back into this life, you inevitably draw it towards yourself. So there are these important milestones that can be seen as opportunities.
Yeah.
I mean, how often do we, in life, come up against a situation, we think we've resolved it, it disappears. A couple of years later, we find ourselves in exactly the same circumstances.
And you haven't resolved it at all.
We haven't resolved it.
No.
And we keep repeating this pattern until we tackle it in a different way.
It's like knocking, saying, I'm still here.
Yes, I'm still here. You haven't resolved this. And the minute that we tackle it in a different way, in a spiritual way, we see through it spiritually, we see through to the harmony of the situation, it disappears. And it never bothers us again. But then something else turns up. And these milestones are there along our path because of our past lives. We put them there.
It's never ending, really, isn't it? Just another one keeps appearing and appearing.
Yes, because we're trying to resolve things. I mean, the ultimate decision is not to come back.
Yeah.
When we leave this place and move into the spiritual realms, to say, well, this time I've had enough of the earth. I think I'm going to move forwards and evolve on higher levels of vibration this time. That's
one of the things that is mentioned. We perhaps take it separately. That's one of the things that's mentioned so much at the sanctuary.
It's a key, yeah.
About coming back. Everybody has a different view. A lot of people think that you have to come back.
Yes.
And they don't see it as an option, that it's a karmic requirement because you've been a naughty boy or a naughty girl. You've got to come back again.
Yes.
When actually it's just the opposite, isn't it?
Yeah.
Please don't come back.
Yeah, we've covered this in a previous video that is available on this channel. If you look for reincarnation, you don't have to come back.
That's right.
That's covered. We've covered that in more detail.
And in day-to-day, it just comes up time and time again here at the sanctuary.
Yes.
With all the different spiritual views on whether you should or you shouldn't.
Yeah, and it doesn't fit in with free will at all.
No, it doesn't. Not allergic to it at all. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Tony.
Just quickly move on to the next one, which I don't even need to pick up the notes for. Advice regarding spiritual protection and energy loss. How
Yeah.
to stop energy loss.
Yes, yes, yes.
Such a big subject.
Yeah. You know what it's like? You walk into a room and you feel fine and you talk to someone and they wander off and they feel fine and you feel terrible. And it's not that they have consciously taken energy from you, but subconsciously they have a need, and you represent a higher vibration. You represent a fulfillment of that need on a subconscious level, and energy drains from you and into them. Also, we have to look at things like opening and closing the chakras, which we have covered in a separate video in this series on this channel, in that you wouldn't go to bed at night, as I think we said before, and leave your front door open and then expect to be safe. So there has to be discipline in spiritual work. We have to understand that we have principal energy centers and that they open and close, and that we can't leave them open, because if we do, we can connect to any passing thought, any negative situation that's going on around us, any stray thoughts from a crowd we happen to be in, and they can drain us. So we have to protect ourselves. We have to make sure that our chakras are closed. Again, we have a video on that subject on the channel, and we have to make sure that when we've been working spiritually, that we haven't picked anything up that is negative, and we cleanse ourselves of those things.
And sometimes in the past, I'd spoken to somebody on the phone, and you'd feel dreadful afterwards. One of the guys said, well, if you feel that's taken place, just go to the sink and sort of wash, as a kind of ritual, just wipe your brow chakra and sort of sprinkle some water and visualize the connections cut, and just going through that process, you can be conscious of cutting that connection. Another technique is to stop people thinking of you maybe at night, just to visualize that you're in a bell jar and it's sort of mirrored on the outside to sort of send back any thoughts, and it's sort of silvered in the inside, and just ask for protection. So there's various things.
There's a good point there, in that sometimes people can think that they don't like us for whatever reason, and they send out thoughts to us, or they will say something to us which is quite wounding and hurtful, and down we go in energy levels. But we can say, well, thank you very much for your gift mentally. Thank you for the gift of your insults or the bad thinking that you send towards me. However, I have no need of that gift on my journey through life. And so with love, and that's the important thing, with love, you may have it back. In other words, you're returning unopened that parcel of negative energy that's being sent towards you.
And again, this goes back to a previous video where actually by being consciously aware that you're feeling bad, consciously aware that you have changed, you in yourself have moved your vibration up, because that used to happen unconsciously.
Yes.
And you were just in it.
Yes.
But
yes.
by being aware of these things is the first step, isn't it?
Yes, and thinking, is it me? Why was I happy 10 minutes ago, and now I'm terribly depressed?
Exactly. Yeah.
Is it me, or is it because something has connected to me?
Yeah.
And then you can go through the processes to get rid of that negative connection.
Or even, why am I thinking that thought? That's not me.
Yes.
I don't think like that. Why should I have this thought? It's ridiculous.
Yes. Yes.
And then know that you need to do something about it.
Because we're in a pool of thought,
protect.
of course. We're in a field. We're in the field of human consciousness.
Absolutely.
And there are all kinds of thoughts swirling around that we are conscious of on a spiritual level, and that can connect to us in the same way that somebody connects to us and draws energy from us. Those thoughts like to draw energy from us. And so it's important to examine how we're thinking and think, oh, is that me?
Yeah. And this is one of the major areas that we get asked at the sanctuary.
Yes.
And sometimes, say you're going to go into a busy shopping area or with lots of people, to just ask for a protection beforehand and close everything down, and just beware before you go into that situation.
Those supermarkets are really dangerous places.
They certainly are.
I'm not going to mention any names.
They certainly are.
Airport lounges, railway stations.
Well, yeah, anywhere where there are crowds, because people have all sorts of...
They all get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. I have another area here, which I think will make the last one. And this was somebody, I wrote it down. Joseph asks that we meditate and visualize but I've always found it difficult despite trying for a long time. Joseph tells us to ask for help from God or my guardian angel, but I don't seem to get it. I try to visualize sending light from the heart mind. It doesn't seem to work. I'm frustrated. I'm a little annoyed that I try so hard with no sign that I'm getting somewhere. Help.
I think it's a classic case of your head mind will always attack you and saying, oh, it's not doing any good, it's not working, it's not working. So that's the first pitfall to avoid. It is working. You've got to believe that if you sit to send out the light in the right way, it is working and it is helping people. Joseph's given various light sending meditations, but one of the best ones is in Transmission on page 234. And he talks people through a way of doing it to draw the light in, down through the head chakra and then out through the heart center, which is the purest way of doing it because that's the purest vessel. But just before you send it out, to savor that love, to feel it and then to send it out. So for anybody, if they can go through that guided meditation and it will help you. And Joseph also says there's a misconception that you should be doing it for so long and you sort of doing it for 20 minutes, whatever. And sometimes you can just do it for a few seconds. So it shouldn't have to be a set amount of time because you are an infinite being. So as such, you bring the light out from you. You can do it within seconds. Also, his visuals aren't set in stone.
No.
We're creative beings ourselves, so you'd use them maybe as a guideline, but then you can make up your own. And eventually, Joseph said, if after 3 years, you shouldn't still be using my visuals, you should be able to just do it automatically.
To sense it, yeah.
And if you're thinking during the meditation, I'm not seeing anything, I'm not hearing any voices, I'm not getting anything, then again, it's pandering to the head mind. You should just be sitting to send out the light and not getting messages.
Or to get some kind of reward. It's not about getting a reward. It's not about somebody saying, yes, you've ticked the box and you're sending out light. It is a process. It is a spiritual process.
Yeah.
And it's not about where that light has gone. It's that you are having the discipline and the care for others to send it out in the first place. And we're never alone when we send out the light. We're legion.
It's just what I was going
We're
to mention.
legion. We're joined by all those spirits who are concerned about the future of this world, the future of humankind, and they join together and make that light so much more powerful, and we can direct it to where we want, for as long as we want, whenever we want. And we should never feel that we are not making a difference. If we sit for with the right intentions to send out the light, we make that difference.
Exactly. And Joseph and the Soul Group have said to us so many times, privately as well as in the books,
Yes.
you are never alone.
Yes.
If you only knew the help that was around you
Yes.
and the light that is shining to you to help you through this difficult time.
Yeah.
And we're not, are we? We're never alone.
Never alone. Never alone. Thousands and thousands of spirits will.
And with practice, if we practice, then it'll get easier and the doubt will stop. So just keep doing it, I'd say to those people.
So I think that about rounds it. Oh, the tea's gone cold.
It has, yes.
We finished the tea, no biscuits. Jane likes biscuits and we've no biscuits. But I should say just before we go, Jane is very much in the background. But Jane not only has been there when every single transmission has come through, but she's transcribed every transmission. So her knowledge is absolutely incredible of all the Joseph works. So it's been great to have you here.
I won't be able to get my head out of the door now, will I?
And Michael, thank you as always.
Thank you,
to you both. And
great pleasure.
God bless, and we'll see you soon.
God bless.